Notice how you have never, ever been ever able to cling on to and hold on to anything in life. It could be like outside experiences. We all agree that they're temporary and they come and go, like relationships, money, all these things, they come and go. But when it comes to us, we feel like there's a sense of permanence here. But even what we call us, have you ever been able to cling on to one version of your body, the way your body was at one particular moment? Have you ever been able to cling on to a belief system that never ever changed, even the slightest bit? Have you ever been able to cling on to a personality, a hairstyle, anything, a mood, an emotion, a thought? So see, because our sense of self, our entire identity, what we believe our self to be, is invested in and identified with temporary phenomena. And that is why inwardly there's always a sense of incompleteness. There's always a sense of anxiousness, because there's a sense that when you are identified as something that is temporary, now everything that opposes you challenges you. Everything that it is kind of felt to be a threat. Even little thoughts threaten our sense of self, because it is sensed to be temporary, that which needs protecting. That which can be gone. And so notice that this one now, this sense of self that we feel ourselves to be, this where we have identified ourselves. Now this one feels a constant need to accumulate what it's conditioned to believe is good, and the rest of its efforts are to avoid what it's been conditioned to know as bad. So look back, in your life and try to recognize when this one gains something. Like let's just say you start making a lot of money. This one feels bigger. It feels safe. It feels relief. Because temporarily, what it's gaining, either if it's a lot of money, or if it's it just fell in love with a person and now there's a really strong relationship with someone, this one feels temporarily complete again, fulfilled again. It has sort of forgotten its innate sense of lack. And then notice the phase where maybe what you valued so much, the money or the love, it passed. And then this one fell into complete despair. Because its sense of self was shattered. It almost felt like it was being taken away, that it was really being threatened, that it is more likely to vanish now, cease to exist. This is what we can call the ego, the mechanism, where it's the more it adds on through all of these sorts of programs, money, love, health, whatever it's the conditioning is that this is good, this is bad. The more it adds on, the more it feels secure, the more it feels worthy, the more it feels fulfilled. And the more it's taken away, the more it feels lackful. And so this one also now creates another layer of belief that the sense of fulfillment, the sense of happiness, is coming from the things that it's accumulating. the things that are in existence right now. So the money that's here right now, that is what is making me happy. Or the partner, that is what is making me happy. So happiness and sense of fulfillment, which this one is longing for, all this one really cares for deep down is a sense of wholeness, because it's identified as a temporary, just like another fleeting thing. So it's innately searching for that wholeness once again. But this sense of wholeness, which is what we call happiness, it gets connected to, okay, when this is here, this is happiness. When this is here, this is happiness. So now starts the life starts with like just constant chase and constant avoidance. Half thoughts of desire, half thoughts of fear. So you see the problem here. The problem here is not the things, or the problem is also not that everything is temporary. The problem is that we are ourselves are identified as that which is temporary, but this is the false assumption. And this is what we've never looked into. And that's why we just continue to operate under this assumption. And so this is what this teaching really is. It is to see, right? Because this one is full of informations and concepts and knowledge. I forgot which teacher it was. It might have been Ramana, who used to call knowledge learned ignorance. So this one is full of that. So, but for this looking, for this direct seeing, for this unraveling to occur, we must set that aside just for the now and look directly in our experience, which is always here. This is not something you do 5 minutes from now. This is not something you do next year when finances are a little better or there's a relationship in your life. It needs to happen right here. The now is the entry point. The now is the only place. It's not a place, but the now is where this recognition can actually happen. And here is where it is. So then what is permanent, and how to recognize that which is permanent if attention can only, be occupied with that which is temporary? That is where the adjustment needs to start taking place. And that is what the path of self-inquiry really is. Whereas now you're seeing that attention outward, always occupied with that which is temporary, which then again gets covered up with a lot of mental concepts and story, which actually keeps you in the chase. In order to be free of that, not in a means of like escaping, but actually just coming clear and recognizing what is to right here and now keep the attention from going outward. And actually, so habitually, right? Like the attention is going to just keep going outward again and again. And you can say that itself is like the habit, that itself is like the mechanism to keep this chase going, keep this perception of reality going. Because as long as attention is going outward, then there is a me that is focusing and that which I'm focusing on. As long as the attention keeps going on, especially on thoughts. So thoughts themselves, especially for the ones whoever here has already gone through the self-inquiry lectures. And if you haven't, it's okay. But in that we talk about how just the thought arising itself, as soon as the attention is going outward onto thoughts and engaging with it, instantly not only is there a thought, but even the sense of being the thinker of that thought arises spontaneously. Simultaneously. So it always creates this perception where I, the thinker, am thinking about something which is separate from me. And it just creates this sense of separation which it perpetuates through constant thinking. So to become clear now, instead of then focusing on something, having the attention go outward onto something, experience, even thought, even sensations, the subtlest sensations, the subtlest emotion, that's still attention going outward. So instead of that, we start to see what is it that is doing the focusing. Because that one seems to have been constant this entire time. Like when we said previously, like notice how you've never even been able to hang on to a mood or a personality or a belief system or even the body, like it's always changing. But even though all these things are changing, there's still felt to be a me that is in place, that is constant. It's like this thing where it's like, oh, me, Sunny, obviously, I am Sunny, and you know, but I change. That's the perception, that's the false assumption. There's a sense, this is like me, you know? Me that perceives all this change and coming and going. So all that is seen to come and go and change, that's coming and going. But it's like, okay, then there's a sense me. There's a sense that I, the one that knows this, I am permanent, or I am constant at least. There's a sense that there is this one constant in life, and that is me. I am the one who all this stuff that is coming and going happens to. So that is the looking that we do here in this moment. What is this that is aware of that which is temporary and changeful? And so when you ask yourself a question like this, obviously it starts off as a mental inquiry, but you'll see something interesting. When you ask yourself a question like, what is it that is aware of this thought, or this current emotion, or this current experience? What is it that is aware? What is this that is sensed as me, that is aware of this, that knows this? Right? That which is known is known. What is it known by? It feels like it is known by me. What is me actually? If we've just seen that all that I call myself is just always changing, so then what is this me that feels constant? One thing you'll find interesting when you ask yourself these sorts of questions is that they don't lead to other questions unless you become mindy with it and then, you know, dilute this inquiry. But once you ask yourself this question, or these sorts of questions, what they really do is like, what is it that is aware of it? This question, in a way, if you're really looking where it's pointing to, you see that the attention is no longer going outward. Because in order to find the answer to this question, attention can't be outward. Attention doesn't know where to go in your experience to find the answer to this question. Attention always knows where to go. If I say, okay, look at the window in front of you, attention goes right there. If I say, feel your right arm, the attention automatically goes to your right arm. So what this me is, we can say, is not an object of experience. Means that like you can't know it like an object that has definitions. It can be described, it has qualities, it has a beginning and an end. It has dimensions. And so when you ask yourself this sort of question, what it's really designed to do is not, you know, the question isn't designed to be a mental inquiry. It's to take the attention to that which is permanent. And because attention can't go anywhere outward, it's just here. And you'll notice that like instead of like a self-inquiry, it's just maybe as soon as you start doing it and it's kind of new to you, you'll see that like when you ask yourself these questions, It's just like nothing happens. There's nothing. And that maybe brings up some frustration, which then again the mind starts to interpret it. It's like, oh wait, where's my answer? I want to know what I am. Like, I thought if I do this inquiry, some answer is going to come to me from whatever. But that's again just bringing mind back into it, and that's not what the point of the inquiry is. It's by when that nothingness is just happening, what is actually happening deeper on the surface? Deeper underneath the surface. For even a second, attention is no longer going outward, associating with something, creating a subject-object relationship, creating separation, creating duality. Instead, it is just here. And now the more that we start practicing and become familiar with this, and practice keeping the attention here, which by the way is out of nobody's reach. You don't have to be special to do this. You don't have to learn something to do this. You don't have to meditate for 30 years and then start doing this. Oftentimes, maybe that's how it goes. Maybe it's like the preparation, you can say. But once this is coming up in your experience, you can do it. Anything that says you can't is simply a thought, which again is seen. By what is it seen? So see, now these thoughts are no longer a problem. See, previously you were trying to meditate, right? Trying to focus on something or trying to reach this state of permanence or oneness. And thoughts used to come in, they used to bother you. They used to take you away. They used to make you struggle, fight. It's just this constant battle with thoughts. But now, no longer are thoughts a problem. Because when thoughts arise, because habitually they do, right? And the attention goes outward onto them. Now they're actually used to bring, again, the attention back just here. Forget about going inward and all these other things. We're not going anywhere with the attention. That's what it is, keeping it here. So even when the thought arises, as soon as you're able to catch that, you're engaging with it and you're aware of a thought, what is it that is aware of this? Rather than, again, falling into the story of the thought or seeing what it's trying to talk about, or because it's always very, very relevant and it's always very, very intriguing. It's really captivating. It makes you feel like it's important, significant to think. And that's why it's a little difficult, right? But ultimately, it is not important. It is not significant. And you start to recognize this yourself the more you learn to leave it and just bring your attention back to its source. So the more you start becoming acclimated with this practice, becoming used to it, attention is more and more here in its source. No longer is there a constant subject-object relationship, duality, separation. And you can say now, you start to notice the little bit of the light between the clouds. And right now, this may be sensed as peace, or this may be sensed as, like some sense of openness. But don't just stop here. Continue doing the looking. This is where the clouds start to, thin away more and more. There's no just, one time, gone. So don't also seek that. Because that itself is a concept you've learned or heard about maybe. Let this just be the way that it is. Let it unfold for you, that the way that it is unfolding for you. Don't have any agenda for it. Don't have any sort of time limits. Don't have any sort of judgments about it, because then again, what are those judgments? What are those time constraints? They are thoughts that are arising, which you are identifying as your voice, as myself. And that's the whole problem in the first place. And that is the cloud currently covering up the recognition of the permanent blue sky. The blue sky is not created. It's not achieved. It's there. It is. But right now these clouds come, and because there's so much interest in these clouds, because the clouds are all what we've known our entire life, they have the power to just, take us away and keep us just interested in the clouds. Every now and then we see the light shining and we feel, oh, nice. But then we go right back to the clouds because it's just what we know, and it's what is interesting, what intrigues us. But that is inquiry. Seeing through the clouds here and now. Not waiting for something or wanting something to happen, but just here, going directly to our experience. And as the cloud arises, rather than just being completely hooked on by what is temporary, moving, actually seeing what is this sense of permanence, with the sense of constantness, the sense that, the sense I, the sense me, that is always at the heart of what I know. What is this one that is aware of this cloud, thought, emotion, whatever it is? And then just coming back here. And the more you do this, the clouds start to vanish, because see, the clouds need your constant attention to fuel them. That is their life force. So the more you start to take this power away, this energy away from thoughts, now the sense of being a separate me, this identity that was constructed on this cloud, it starts to weaken on its own. The clouds start to thin away more and more, and you actually start to see what you always were, what you are even now. Right? Because you would agree that even, let's just say, you're super mind identified and, you know, struggling or whatnot, there's still a sense of a constant me that is aware of everything. Doesn't matter, we don't know what this me is right now, but there is a sense me. Even in the most hectic of times, the biggest of life problems, there's this me that it was happening to. And this me seems to be the same. This sense of I, this sense of, also the sense of now. Everything happens now to me. So what is this permanence, this, you know, that can't be pointed to? That's not a physical object or even a subtle mental object. It can't be pointed to, but what it is that which knows. So through this inquiry, just being here. And it's a constant thinning of the clouds. Because the identity, which needs constant thinking, which needs and survives on constant attention going outward, creating a separation, a subject-object relationship, now it begins to thin away. Because it's not receiving its life force anymore. And now it's not like you achieve something or get to some place. You just, now you can say, like, the false ideas, the concepts, the identifications, they themselves start to wither away, and it's just now I seeing what is. I seeing what I am. More and more. Even if it's little by little.